Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Intel Network. If you find this deep dive helpful, please subscribe to the channel, like, and hit that notification bell. When people talk about humanity's future in space, one name almost always dominates the conversation: Elon Musk. For years, his vision seemed crystal clear: go straight to Mars, build a city, and make humanity multi-planetary as fast as possible. But now, that roadmap has taken a dramatic turn. Instead of racing directly to the red planet, Spacex is shifting its near-term focus to something much closer to home: building a permanent, self-sustaining settlement on the moon. At first glance, it sounds like a detour, but when you dig into the strategy, the physics, and the economics, it starts to look less like a step back and more like the fastest path forward to becoming a true spacefaring civilization. The core idea is simple. Before you can build a thriving city on Mars, you need to learn how to live and work off Earth reliably. You need to master building habitats, producing resources locally, generating massive amounts of power, and operating complex systems in extreme environments. And the moon offers something Mars simply can't: speed. A trip to the moon takes about 2 days. Mars takes 6 to 9 months. Launch windows to the moon open constantly, while Mars missions are limited to a narrow opportunity roughly every 26 months. That difference alone means you can test, fail, fix, and try again 10 to 20 times faster on the moon. In engineering, iteration speed is everything, and that's the heart of this pivot. The vision being discussed is often called Moonbase Alpha, a self-growing lunar settlement that could emerge within the next decade. Not just a science outpost, but a real industrial foothold beyond Earth. A place that produces its own materials, generates its own energy, and supports a permanent human presence. To understand the scale of what's being proposed, consider the logistics. Estimates suggest that building a truly self-sustaining settlement could require on the order of 1 million tons of cargo delivered to the lunar surface. That includes habitats, power systems, industrial equipment, life support infrastructure, and the machinery needed to extract and process local resources. Moving that much mass off Earth would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. But the equation changes with the arrival of Starship, the fully reusable heavy-lift system designed specifically to drive down the cost of access to space while dramatically increasing payload capacity. Future Starship variants are expected to carry well over 100 tons per launch, potentially more than 200. With rapid reusability and high launch cadence, thousands of flights over a decade could realistically deliver the mass required to bootstrap a lunar settlement. Some of those spacecraft might never return to Earth at all, instead becoming part of the base itself, converted into habitats, storage modules, or structural components. Location matters too. Most serious concepts place a future lunar base near the moon's south pole, where crater rims receive near-constant sunlight and permanently shadowed regions hold significant deposits of water ice. That water is critical. It can be turned into drinking water, breathable oxygen, rocket propellant, and even radiation shielding. Energy would likely come from vast solar arrays spread across sunlit ridges, potentially generating power on a gigawatt scale. That electricity would drive everything: life support, resource processing, manufacturing, and communications. And manufacturing is where the strategy becomes especially interesting. The moon isn't just seen as a place to live, it's envisioned as an industrial hub. With lower gravity and no atmosphere, launching materials into space from the lunar surface requires far less energy than launching from Earth. Concepts like electromagnetic mass drivers could fling cargo or satellites into orbit using electricity instead of rocket fuel. This opens the door to a new kind of economy, built in space for space. One of the most ambitious ideas tied to this vision is moving large-scale computing infrastructure off Earth. As artificial intelligence systems grow more powerful, they demand enormous amounts of electricity and cooling. Space offers nearly unlimited solar energy and the vacuum of space for thermal management. In that scenario, lunar factories could build satellites equipped with advanced computing hardware, launching them into orbit to form vast networks of space-based data centers. If realized, it could become one of the first truly trillion-dollar industries beyond Earth. But while the moon may be the fastest place to start, it's not the ultimate destination. Mars still holds that title. Compared to the moon, Mars is far more Earth-like. Its gravity is about 38% of Earth's, more than double the moon's, which could make long-term human health far more manageable. It has a thin atmosphere that offers some radiation protection and contains carbon dioxide that can be turned into oxygen and fuel. Water ice appears to be abundant, and the length of a Martian day, just over 24 hours, closely matches Earth's natural rhythm. For long-term settlement, those factors matter enormously. A city on Mars has a far better chance of eventually becoming self-sufficient and independent from Earth. But getting there is harder. The distance means long travel times, delayed communications, and little chance of rapid rescue if something goes wrong. Once you're on Mars, you're largely on your own. That's why the moon is increasingly seen as the proving ground, a place to test technologies, refine operations, and build confidence before committing to the much riskier leap to Mars. Of course, none of this comes without challenges. The lunar environment is harsh. Temperatures swing dramatically between blazing sunlight and deep cold. The surface is covered in fine, abrasive dust that clings to everything. Nights at most locations last about 2 weeks, demanding robust energy storage. And the long-term effects of living in low gravity are still not fully understood. Engineering solutions exist for all of these problems, but they will require time, experimentation, and massive investment to perfect. The timeline being discussed is ambitious. Uncrewed cargo missions could begin building up infrastructure in the late 2020s. The first crews might arrive in the early 2030s. By the middle of that decade, a small but permanent population could be living and working on the moon, with partial self-sufficiency emerging toward the end of the 2030s. It's aggressive, no doubt, but the pace of progress in reusable rockets over the past decade shows just how quickly spaceflight can evolve when the right technologies and incentives align. And that brings us to the bigger picture, why this matters at all. For some, expanding into space is about exploration and curiosity. For others, it's about economics, unlocking resources in industries that don't exist yet. And for many, it's about resilience, ensuring that humanity is never forever confined to a single fragile world. The Moon-First strategy doesn't replace the dream of Mars, it strengthens it. It builds the infrastructure, experience, and economic foundation needed to make a permanent human presence beyond Earth not just possible, but sustainable. In the end, the roles of these two worlds may be complementary. The moon becomes the workshop, the place where we learn, build, and launch. Mars becomes the frontier, the place where a new branch of human civilization could eventually take root. If this strategy succeeds, future generations might look back on the coming decades as the moment everything changed, when humanity took its first real steps toward living among worlds, not just visiting them. And whether the first thriving off-Earth city rises from lunar dust or Martian soil, the path to that future may very well begin just 2 days away. If you're into this kind of deep dives, please consider subscribing to the channel, like, and turn on your notification bell. See you in the next video.